Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode. Have you ever wondered what's in your water? You might be surprised to find out it's everything from toxic chemicals, heavy metals, pesticides, even pharmaceuticals and birth control. And if you think drinking bottled water or using a Brita filter is a solution, we've got some research and info that might change your mind on that. We're also joined by our good friend today, Shayne McCarthy, who is a water filtration expert. He's going to break down the myth and give you what's what, and also show you ways that you can purify your own personal water supply at home and not have any of these negative side effects that the government, quite frankly, is not telling you about. So it's going to be a deep dive today. Thanks for joining us on Quantum Letter Podcast. Let's go. Welcome back to Quantum Letter Podcast. My name is Louis Borges. Joining me as always, my good friend and co-host, Mr. Marquise Williams.
What's up, everybody? Let's get this party started.
Let's get her going. I know you're running on 2 hours of sleep because you got like 16 kids in your house. So I appreciate you staying up for this and making it happen.
Yeah, man. And also, if you guys see there's like a black dot here and there. That's not actually, I didn't lose it.
Looks like you're missing a tooth.
Yeah, it looks like I lost every time I smile. For some reason, the white, like there's white, everywhere there's white, there's blotches of black. I don't know what's going on with my camera, but it's being weird. Forgive me. I'm tired. My camera's messed up, but I'm ready for some action today because you know what? This is a funny topic. I used to work for a company similar to the one we're going to talk about today, doing the exact same thing, helping people in a very similar way. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about this episode. I feel like I'm going to learn so much more, especially with your knowledge, bouncing ideas off you, and of course, with our guest. So,
yeah. Absolutely, yeah, and we might as well bring our guest on. He is a water filtration expert. I've been on his show in the past. He used to have a Water Boy podcast talking exclusively about the benefits of health, properly charged water and the benefits of that, hydrogen. You know, what is alkaline water? It's not the stuff you're getting at the gas station in the bottles. So super intelligent guy, a world of information. This is a two-part series. Last episode was what's in our food. This is now what's in our water. And as we were prepping and doing the research, I couldn't think of a better person to have join us and give us some expertise and insights. So let's bring him on the show. Our good friend, Mr. Shayne McCarthy.
Hey, boys. How you doing?
Good to have you, buddy.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. We're going to do a deep dive and we're going to use your expert brain to tell us what's real and what's BS. You know, there's a lot of myth around different types of water, smart water, alkaline water, hydrogen water. Even there are products that claim that they do such, but they don't, or in such small quantity, it's irrelevant. So what is it? Why is it important? But before we get into that, I think we need to talk about what's in our water that we're not aware of. I think we give too much credence to the government's taking care of it and we're safe. We're going to find out by the end of this episode that's not the case. It's basically on you. And they don't advertise these things, but there are places you can go in your region and find out exactly what is in your water. And we're going to see some video clips today of people who have done just that and have found like 400% of arsenic that isn't supposed to be there, and the government's clean because they're like, well, we told you, but do you really want to be drinking that? And what are the side effects of that? And I think the most important thing with all of this is we're talking about our cells. And I didn't know how many cells were in a human body before this show. So I Googled it. Anything from 30 trillion to 40 trillion cells in an adult human body. And we're talking about hydrating at a cellular level. So I thought I'd bring in our microscope cam. This is actually the microscope right there. I've got it wired up. And this is human, these are intestine cells. Not mine, don't worry. But they are basically, this is a real prepared slide. And essentially, you've got bubbles, which are cells with fluid in them, and then you have sort of extracellular fluid around them. And we think even if we drink a whole bunch of water that we're really doing a good job, but it's unless that water is charged, your cells aren't pulling it in. Yes, you can be hydrated, but you're going to pass most of it out. And there's a difference between drinking water and being properly hydrated. And so we're going to talk about that today. But first, let's get into what is in our water. Where did my boys go?
There we go.
There we are. Sorry, gents. The microscope cam took center stage there from everybody. So here we go. 5 things that are in our water that you might be surprised about.
Here's what drinking tap water does to your body. Now, number 1, it gives you a good dose of fluoride. Not great. Will kill your thyroid function and your metabolism. Number 2, it can make you gain weight because now your thyroid is sluggish. Number 3, you could be ingesting somebody else's birth control and other medication residues from people swallowing and, of course, peeing it out, going into that water supply. Number 4, you're ingesting that chlorine. That chlorine is going to kill your microbiome, can make you very gassy and bloated. And number 5, you're drinking heavy metals, and this can lead to brain toxicity. So my tips are drink reverse osmosis water whenever you can with minerals added back into it, ideally. Try not to drink from plastic water bottles. And if you are going to buy a spring water, make sure it's from high mountains that is naturally structured from sunlight and, of course, in a glass bottle. Follow for more natural health tips.
So Shayne, let me ask you, what are some of the things that you've come across? And I've got some clips here, so I can obviously fire a video if you bring up something that matches. But what are some of the things that you've come across in your research as to what is actually in our drinking water?
Well, I mean, she made a few very good points, but she's only even still scratching the surface. I am really glad that she brought up the pharmaceuticals. Typically when it comes to tap water, you hear of chlorine, fluoride, and maybe heavy metals. And I'm glad that she brought up that the chlorine is going to disrupt your gut microbiome. But the studies of chlorine linked to cancer are just astronomical. A lot of people don't realize that chlorine actually was first made to be a herbicide. And so that is in, a heavy amounts of that is in our water. And, it's to kill the bacteria. It's kind of like the package to like if you go and buy a loaf of bread from the grocery store, do you bring home the slices of bread or do you bring it home in a package?
Yeah.
You bring it home in a plastic wrap package. Well, drinking water with chlorine in it is like bringing that bread home and then eating the package around it, because that package is protecting that bread until it gets in your home. Same type of thing. And that's why it destroys your gut microbiome and is linked to cancer. One of the other things that gets missed, especially for those that are in like Maui or the Okanagan of British Columbia and northern Washington with the fires, Northern California a few years ago, is VOCs, volatile organic compounds like benzene. When those fires happen, obviously cars and buildings and stuff are burning down, and that gets into the water source. But what happens is that those big tanks that it showed for where the water sits in at these water treatment plants, that there's a coating on the inside, and that's an acceptable amount. That's fine. But once that gets heated up a certain amount, then there's benzene in that gets into your water. In the water in California after the fires a few years ago, there was like 2,000 times the amount of benzene that's the acceptable level in your water. And it's absolutely crazy. I mean, she mentioned the birth control, which is probably the most prevalent thing, but the average 80-year-old is on 14 different prescriptions.
Yeah.
Per capita, especially in the US, there's the most amount of prescription drugs taken, and the municipal treatment plants don't have the ability to take that out. Then there's things like forever chemicals, PFAs, and going back to what I said about the chlorine, pesticides and herbicides. Like living in BC, there's lots of farmland around here. There's pesticides and herbicides that get into the water, and it's just, it's these small amounts, but over time these build up, and they really do a number on your endocrine system, your hormones, your immune system. And it's just, given your body is 75% water, it's important to make sure that these types of things aren't in your water, because they become a part of you.
Absolutely, yeah. And I actually have a clip from a guy who ran a water still and distilled water in British Columbia, which, as we think, living here, this is the cleanest water in Canada, most pristine and untouched. And
Yeah.
you'll see what was left over in the still. Basically, anybody on a municipal water system is susceptible to these things. This is toilet water that is getting recycled. Yes, it's getting filtered in UV, but nothing's filtering at the small micron level for microplastics, and definitely not at the nano level, which is now where plastics are breaking down even further. Nobody is doing that, and nobody's filtering out pharmaceuticals. Like when they say birth control in the water, that's estrogen. Men do not need to be having estrogen. Young boys don't need to develop breasts at 9 years old. Our previous episode on food, we talked about a lot of these things: additives, BPAs, they're endocrine disruptors, right? Bisphenol A it tricks your body to thinking it's estrogen. It binds to those same receptors. And that stuff gets in the water. There's none of that getting filtered out. They're doing mechanical separation and UV light. They're killing bacteria and removing particles down to a certain size. Everything else is still present in the water. And we think the government is there and they're telling us what's up. Here's a clip on the government only regulates kind of what is cheap and easy to remove. So take a look at this.
Just because your water passes the government's safety test doesn't mean it's safe to drink, cook, or bathe in. You see, here's the thing, Alex, and this is important. The government only regulates the stuff that's easy or cheap to take out, not what's necessary to keep us safe. They found 93 chemicals that are linked to cancer. More than 40,000 water utilities coast to coast have levels of cancer-causing chemicals in their water that people know causes cancer. They found 78 chemicals associated with brain and nervous system disorders, 63 linked to developmental damage to children and fetuses, 45 linked to hormone disruption, 38 that cause fertility problems.
Wow.
I mean, the list goes on and on. If you had those ingredients on a food label, people would go crazy and say, what the hell is this? Why are you even making this product? And it's not just drinking water. When you shower, you probably uptake as much, if not more water than drinking a glass, right? And we feed this to our pets. We feed this to our developing children, to our aging seniors. We put it on our vegetables in our garden.
Cook
and,
with it.
And there is a way that anybody can test the junk in their water, aside from like your typical filtration tests and stuff like that, or alkalinity tests. This is an electrolyzer. I think it's like $30 on Amazon. And this guy did a test. It's about a 5-minute video. It's a little slow because he's like, I'm going to show you normal water. And I'm going to show you like Brita water, because he's trying to see if the Brita filter actually gets out everything. So he goes back and forth to the tap a few times. But what comes out of what appears to be tap water, absolutely disgusting. I'm going to invest in one of these machines, and I think everybody else should. It's a simple electrolytic ionizer. But take a look at what this guy found in his drinking water.
All right, guys, I just bought this electrolysis apparatus, instructions for use. It's a water tester, so it's gonna pull the elements out of the water so we can kind of see how dirty our water is. So we're gonna do 2 tests today. One is with tap water, one is with our Brita filter. So let me get a tap water here. Here's tap water. Okay, I think that's good. Alright, and then we're going to get this one from our Brita filter here. So you see the Brita. It's supposed to filtrate your water, but we'll see. Alright. I think we're supposed to do it like this. Oops, bring them closer. Because my cord is not that long. Put it in here like that. We're going to turn it on. And apparently we're supposed to wait like, within 30 seconds to a minute. We can kind of get an idea how dirty you see the electrolysis working. Look, already it's turning brown, black. Look at that, that's our tap water. The Brita water, it's doing a little bit better. Oh, no, it's starting to turn black too, or green. And this is what we're drinking. Well, we don't really drink the tap water, but we try to filter through the Brita. You can see it's doing a little bit better job. So, not too bad with the Brita. So what we've done is we've bought a distiller. So that's coming in through Amazon. Look how dirty that is. And then we're going to distill our water, and then we're going to filter it after that, and then throw it into a water cooler, because this is unacceptable right here. This is really, really bad. It's almost like a swamp green-ish. So supposedly this is supposed to have, I don't see anything that says like what the different colors are. Let me see. Okay, let me see. Okay, yellow, acid, fluoride, and other organic matter. Green, arsenic. That's really bad. Mercury, lead, copper, and sodium. And of course, ours is green. It's got to be the worst one. Look at that. And then we have blue, bacteria, viruses, carcinogens, chemical fertilizers, pesticides, and other. Red, iron and rust, bacterial. White, lead, zinc, mercury, inorganic. Yellow is acid, fluoride, and other organic matter. Ours is green, arsenic. That's really, really, really bad. This is the filtered water here. This is our tap water. And like I said, both of these, we're drinking. My wife's using this in her coffee and stuff like that. Look how bad that is.
That is disgusting.
What is that stuff, man? I don't think that's a fake video. I'm pretty sure that's legit. How does that stuff come out of your water? Like,
well, it just because it's clear doesn't mean it's pure, and there is so much of that stuff in there. I already knew what the black was as the heavy metals and stuff. I have one of those, and I've seen these tests before, and yeah, it's really important to know. We're just kind of going around blind leading the blind if you think that that there's that. One, the government cares, and two, that they're that arsenic in there, that's no bueno. I mean, I think that the tap water was really a good combination of all the different colors.
Yeah, that guy had to mix everything. And I mean, that machine is only going to show you that, yes, things exist. Some people have taken it to the next level and sent samples for professional analysis to a lab, and they got the test back. And this lady did that because I'm not sure if she lives in an area close to where fracking and things like that happen. I do have a clip on what the water looks like in some areas after fracking. But this is just a lady who thought, you know what? I'm not buying what the government's telling me. I want to see what's in my water. And she was blown away.
Yeah. So basically what I did is I paid and had the local water tested because I had to know what was in the water and what my machine was taking out and what the pre-filters were taking out. Okay. So this is what the EPA allows. Okay. So aren't you happy to know that they allow a certain amount of arsenic? It's very nice of them.
I know.
Barium, lithium, all that kind of stuff, right?
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? But with our machine with pre-filters, notice it's none found, none found, none found, none found.
Oh my
right?
goodness.
That's one page.
That's incredible.
One page. Now we're getting into 2 pages. Okay, including fluoride, which is hard, but the new pre-filters we have now take out about 95% of fluoride.
Wow.
Now we're into EPA allowed, pharmaceuticals, herbicides, pesticides. Got it?
Okay.
None found, none found, none found.
Wow. Sorry, Chris.
It's okay. Incredible.
3 pages of stuff.
Yep. I'm glad that as Kangen water distributors, they did say to purchase pre-filters. Because that's one of the things. That's Kangen is how I got my start in this industry over 10 years ago. I had a Kangen machine, and the filtration in a Kangen machine filters chlorine and chlorine alone.
Right.
And that really needs to be understood, because it's basically like that Brita filter that it was tested in the video 2 videos ago. And so the fact that they have pre-filters is phenomenal. I'm really, really happy to see that. But yeah, I see people reference Kangen as a good filtration device, which it is not.
So was it the pre-filter that got all that junk out, not the Kangen machine?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she mentions that in there, and I'm glad that she was very clear about that, because it's not, the magic of the ionization machines is the splitting into alkaline and acidic waters, and when done properly, the alkaline water has hydrogen dissolved into it and stuff like that. But that cannot and should not happen without proper filtration, because the water becomes more bioavailable. And so does everything else that's in the water. So the last thing you want to be doing is making things like arsenic and fluoride and pesticides and herbicides, so on and so forth, more bioavailable.
Sure. Yeah. You hydrogenate it, you give it a charge, your body absorbs it. It's like, wow, this is great. And now it's gone right into your cells.
Yeah.
And some machines do it all in one. We're going to talk about the various machines and what you're involved in. But there's a difference. I guess the point we're trying to make to everybody is there's a difference between water conditioning and water filtration. So you need to filter the water, get it to a clean 0, then you can enhance it, enrich it, give it its alkaline or acidic charge for various purposes. Some of these machines can do everything from make hand sanitizer to makeup remover to make water that you can wash pesticides off of vegetables with. It's essentially just water, no chemicals. It's just the charge that it's given. And we'll get into that in the second half. Another thing I found fascinating that some people, they say, well, I'm not too worried about tap water. I live on a well. It's a spring. It's clean. There's a lot of stuff in it. Lately, I don't know about in the States, but in Canada, a lot of people have been contacting their local municipalities asking for radon detectors. Radon is a radioactive gas that exists deep in the ground that can get into people's houses and collect. So it actually comes from the well water. So this is Mike Holmes. He's very famous in Canada. He has sort of Mike Holmes makes it right. He'll go into a house that they had a contractor do a crap job. He goes in, fixes it up, takes care of the people. So this is him basically learning that there's radon in well water.
Radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer for non-smokers.
You're saying we can have radon gases in the water in this home because there's a well?
Absolutely. There's lots of studies taking place looking at the incidence of colon cancer and stomach cancer from the ingestion of radon-contaminated water. When we turn on our tap, we're aerating the water, and that releases the radon back into a gas form into the house.
When I'm showering, when I'm running water?
Yes.
I didn't even know radon could be in my water. It's well water. It's coming from the ground. Why can't it be in the water? Hell yeah, it can.
Yeah, I mean, the ground only does so much, right? Like in Tennessee, it's limestone water. It's where they make the best whiskey in the US, is because of the clarity and the mineral quality of the water. But nature's never had to deal with things on such a nano level like we're putting in the system now. These chemicals, these pesticides, heavy metals, they don't exist naturally from animals pooping in the creek. Nature has a way to fix that. It doesn't have a way to deal with this industrial mess that we're not only polluting the oceans with, but it's in the rain, it's in everything else. I have a clip on heavy metals in the rain. But before we go there, have you guys heard of radon before? I was blown away when I found this out.
Yeah, I have. I mean, it's primarily looked at in air quality, but the radon in your water gets overlooked. And he hit the nail on the head when you're showering. Because when you're showering, the steam, the vapor of it, that's where you then start breathing it in very large quantities, and it's definitely something to be aware of.
Wow, I never even thought of that. It's true. Even if it's just regular tap water with things like arsenic or anything else, you're now inhaling that as a vapor rather than just drinking it. At least your body has filtration on the inside. It's not great, but like your kidneys and things like that. But you're putting that straight in your lungs. No wonder radon causes lung cancer, because that's how we're uptaking it.
That's and again another big part of chlorine's effect on your body too, is when you shower with the chlorine. When you're showering with the chlorine, with the heat, it will turn it into chloride, and then you inhale that in. And it's the same thing with chloramines, which is basically chlorine and ammonia. And you start inhaling that in, and it just, you add that to the radon and whatever else is in your water. It's an interesting time.
Yeah. And in our last episode, talking about what's in our food, we mentioned all the additives. And then it's like, okay, so you're putting all this crap in your body. Then you're shampooing with all these chemicals and your soaps and your laundry detergent and your fabric softener. Now you're inhaling chloramines and chlorides through your water. You're drinking arsenic. Like, no wonder we're sick and dying.
Death
all of
by
our stuff is
1,000 cuts.
poison, and we don't have the full story.
Yeah, exactly.
How is it in the States, Marquise? You're in Pennsylvania. We're in Canada. We think we have higher regulations, but it looks like nobody that's drinking any city or municipal-based water, even well water, nobody's really safe. Have you guys had anything in the U.S. similar to this?
You want to start with Flint, Michigan, or?
I have a clip on Flint. We could start with Flint. So for those who don't know, Flint, Michigan was basically screwed by the state, and to this day still hasn't fully recovered, and nobody's been made to pay the price. Here's a little clip on it. Take a look.
I've got bad, infuriating news for you, and that is that after a decade, Flint, Michigan's search for justice has finally come to an end. Right, and of course, all of this actually started back on April 25th, 2014, when state officials switched the city's water supply to the Flint River to save money. And then, of course, because of that decision and other errors, lead from the pipes seeped into the water. People started complaining that it smelled bad, it tasted bad, it looked fucking brown. But then officials at the time reassured everyone the water is safe, and then by the time the crisis actually blew open, 12 people had died and thousands more were poisoned, including children, leaving many of them with permanent neurological damage and behavioral issues that they'll never recover from. So then in 2016, Michigan's Attorney General charged a slate of former officials for their complicity in the disaster. But then those cases all floundered after the state Supreme Court ruled last year that prosecutors messed up by having a circuit judge act as a one-man grand jury for the charges. And after that, lower courts dismissed the cases, and every appeal to reverse the dismissals failed over and over. With all of that leading us to yesterday, when the state Supreme Court declined to hear an appeal on the case against Rick Snyder, effectively ending the entire effort to hold anyone accountable for poisoning the entire city. So now you have some residents blaming the Attorney General and her appointees for bungling the cases, but then you have the prosecutors pointing the finger at the state Supreme Court, because one-man grand juries have been used in the past for violent crime cases where people are afraid to snitch, or public corruption cases where witnesses won't cooperate. So the fact that it wasn't allowed in this case leads some to believe there's a two-tier justice system, one for black and brown people and one for wealthy, powerful white men. But follow to stay in the loop.
Well, to be clear, that's true in the extreme cases. There's obviously what they call environmental racism, but when it comes to people's water, I used to do what you do, Shayne. Probably not on the same level. I can be sure. I clearly can tell that. I wasn't in it for 10 years. I did it for one, and then I moved on to other things because I was really interested in tech. But I will tell you that I used to test people's water, and they were not all black. As a matter of fact, most of them were white. So their water was terrible. And that test that you did earlier, the electron test or whatever it was, I can't remember the type of test.
Yeah, electrolysis test.
Yeah.
The electrolysis test, we used to do this test where we would put a solution in the water and then give it a few moments, and it would draw out all the solids and pull them to the bottom of a cup of water, and you could see just a gunk of solid just stuff in people's sink water and in their well water. It was even worse in well water, of course. So this is like so crazy to see all this, and I was really curious about your Shayne, some of the information you have. But Louis, you're doing a killer job, man. Honestly, all the things you're saying, that's the kind of stuff that I'm pretty sure you know, Shayne.
Well, normally we do a week or two research for every episode.
Yeah.
We want to get as proficient as we can. I'll admit I've been interested in this topic for upwards of a year. I've been chatting with Shayne just in our personal lives about, the benefits of this. How does this hydrogen water work? Things like that. So I've been really learning ever since having my daughter, or my wife did most of the work, I'll be honest. But ever since we had a daughter, I've really wanted to be careful of what we put in her body and things like that. And the first thing that came into mind was like heavy metals and formula. Check out our last show on what's in your food. You can use a magnet and actually see the metal. It's that, open. But it's I've done a bit of research on it. I know about it. I'm interested in the topic. So I compile as many clips and things of professional people basically saying the same things, and hope that everybody will at least pay attention to this, because you're not dead in the water, pun intended, I guess. The water supply is screwed, but there are things you can do. We will chat about that in the second half.
I do want to ask Shayne about.
Go ahead. Ask Shayne.
Yeah, but I don't know if we're going to get there now or not, but I definitely want to talk about bottled water, because I am aware of the for the you know the plastics that are in the water,
BPAs
and
and
the
stuff.
microplastics and stuff like that.
Yep.
But I'm curious about alternatives, but we'll probably get to that towards the end, of course. But what are the problems with bottled water? Let's talk about that, because I want to get your perspective on that.
Well, there's quite a few problems that come with bottled water, both for the environment and then for us. Obviously, the environment one's kind of an obvious one. The amount of plastic bottles that go back into the landfills and stuff like that is just it's the petroleum and the chemicals used to create the plastic for that is bad for the environment. But in that same respect, it's also bad for your body. You know, you got to think about how long has that bottle of water been sitting on the shelf. And has that bottle of water had any sun shining into it or heat in any way applied to it? Because then that's really how those forever chemicals, microplastics. There was a study that came out about, I think, 3-4 weeks ago, saying that the amount of microplastics in bottled water is actually 10 times worse than once thought. And that, you know, again, that's inorganic materials to your body that are going to make a huge difference. In, again, like you said, Louis, and 100% what Mark, you said, you are like on your game with this. You've got a lot of really good stuff here, but it's really bad for your endocrine system, your overall hormonal system, your immune system. And it just, you start looking at this and you're like, yeah, you know what? It makes sense why people are as sick as they are, right? And so but and on top of that, you know with companies like Nestle, they're just basically buying tap water and bottling it and selling it to you at a premium. And so, what's the quality of the water that you're even purchasing?
Yeah, you think you're safe.
But you're not.
I was just going to say, you think you're safe, but the article that you mentioned, Shayne, we ran it on our last episode. So it's anywhere from, the average was 250,000 particles per liter of water. And some had 110,000 pieces. Some had 400,000, depending on the brand. Like you said, the trace contamination, the lack of filtering. I mean, when you look at a bottle of Nestle water, it just says ionized water. But that doesn't mean anything. That just means you passed it through to kill. Even a UV filter is technically ionizing. It's because I have a pond filter in my backyard, kills algae and stuff like that. It's an ionizer, but it's just a UV light that kills the algae blooms, make them stick together so the filter can catch it. So it's not, I wouldn't drink the pond water just because I have an ionizer in it,
No, definitely not.
I was gonna say the only water, when I used to work for the water company, I remember we used to talk about the issues with bottled water, and the process is pretty much the same as they do for city water. But the one water I used to get, because at least on my own research, was Aquafina, because they claimed, and this is just pure, I just trusted it. They claim that they use reverse osmosis and they clean out all the chemicals and the organic matter and things like that, the solids in it. The process for that is much more extensive, but they still use plastics. So it doesn't really make much of a difference, aside from, even if they use that process, they're still getting those microplastics in the water.
I would actually make the argument that makes it even worse. The lady on the first video was saying that she uses a reverse osmosis system, but she also says that she remineralizes the water. And that is absolutely crucial if you're drinking reverse osmosis water, because the good thing about reverse osmosis is it brings it takes everything out of the water. The bad thing about reverse osmosis is it takes everything out of the water.
The minerals.
The minerals. So unless Aquafina is remineralizing that water, it's going to then leach those microplastics even more.
So I used to have a little dropper for minerals, because that's what they told me. Like, hey, you got to use the mineral drops to get those minerals back in. This is a really interesting conversation. I got to be honest with you. I never thought I'd have another conversation like this, especially on a platform like publicly. This is pretty cool.
That's why I love
That's
it.
why you can't drink distilled water either, because it will take the minerals out of your body because it doesn't have it. It will actually, it'll denourish you of those things. So
Yeah, reverse osmosis and distilled water are as one of those is back in the 60s, 70s, it kind of got pushed into the public as one of those, you know, oh, you got to have this. And again, for somewhat justifiable causes, as it does remove everything from the water. But drinking reverse osmosis water and distilled water for an extended period of time without mineralizing or remineralizing the water is not meant for long-term consumption. Distilled water's original purpose is for medical devices and things like perfumes and colognes. And so it's got its purposes for sure. And reverse osmosis has its purposes. Like if you live in Mexico or Africa or you know, you got really, really bad water, then yeah, you definitely need to make sure that everything gets taken out of the water. I'm not 100% against reverse osmosis water. I'm just 100% for reverse osmosis water done properly. And the fact that it's usually like Aussie trace minerals or you can use Celtic salt to remineralize. Irish sea moss is also another really good one. That's like nature's multivitamin. You get 92 of your source minerals in that, but the point is definitely remineralize. You have to do that. And if you're remineralizing Aquafina, you're remineralizing it after it's already kind of leached all that stuff out of the bottle of water.
Yeah, the damage is already done. And the thing I was amazed at was what is present in rainwater. So even if you live in pristine wilderness, you live in Alaska somewhere 4 hours from the nearest town, you have to remember there are factories that could be hundreds of miles away spewing chemicals into the atmosphere. Clouds don't just go up and rain back down. They go up and they move. So you get a storm. I remember I used to live in a city where they had a Procter & Gamble factory like a half an hour away. And when it would snow, it smelled like laundry detergent because it was the exhaust that from Tide soap, laundry soap. It was going in the air. The snow literally smelled. It was kind of cool, but not, because it's like we're this far away. You know, as a kid, you'd eat a snow cone. Don't do that anymore, folks. The rainwater and the snow is toxic. And here's a video talking about just how toxic it is. And this is an older video, so this isn't just recent. This has been going on for a long time. And now it's reaching levels that are scary.
Tested the rain. 13,100 micrograms per liter of aluminum in the rain in 2013. Normally, it should be 0. So 13,100 is pretty damn much, folks. It used to be 0. Then it was 100s in the 2000s. And then since 2010, it's into the 1000s and the latest 13,100. In the snow on Mount Shasta, pristine Mount Shasta, 61,000 feet. No, excuse me, 8,000 foot level, 61,000 micrograms per liter. 4 times the amount that is found in the soil up there. Where in the hell is this stuff coming from if it's not coming from the soil? You know, these tests are international in scope. We're seeing this all over the world, guys. Okay, pH of acid soils is 20 times more alkaline. The aluminum in the soil has doubled in the last 10 years. Aluminum blocks essential nutrients. I am unable in my garden to restore normal pH, and that's because nanoparticles are now in the circulatory systems of both plants and humans. So welcome, fellow guinea pigs.
We're doomed. That's it.
That's the microbiome of the planet. If it's in the mycelium and the food chain at the lowest level, that's a huge problem.
Yep.
I'm gonna go walk off my roof. I'll see you guys later. It's been a pleasure.
That's it. We're done.
Oh, we can't be done yet. I got more clips.
My God.
Again, we're trying to hammer that point home that it's coming from everywhere. Everybody has an excuse for either, not really thinking about it because A, there's trust in the regulatory bodies, so you don't pay much attention, or B, how come I'm not sick, or I've lived here my whole life, never had a problem. These aren't things that are going to make you acutely sick overnight. This is long term. And if you watched our episode on epigenetics, there are more things that happen to you in your life that can cause cancer than the genes you were born with that say you're going to get cancer. It's things like
100%.
this water pollution, what's in your food, your clothing, microplastics, fibers, rayon, polyester, air pollution. It's literally a toxic bath every single day. And we really can't get away from it. And unless we take active charge of that, we're just going to be like everybody else, and don't expect that the medical bodies are fully up to speed with this, because nobody's doing long-term tests on the bad stuff that corporate America or corporate North America is putting in the water. Nobody's paying for these tests. So we really don't know.
Yep. You just you got to live by the 4 agreements, and one of which is do what you can and do your best. And there's what you look at the levels of Alzheimer's and dementia nowadays, and you look at the aluminum, and you gotta make the connection there. And then there's things that's being sprayed in the air too. I don't know if you're allowed to say that type of stuff on here or not, but the aluminum barium.
People think they're what is it, cloud seeding?
Yeah,
those they're contrails in the air of chemicals and things like that.
What sucks is that these are real phenomena, or real things that happen. The problem is when you get people who take these real problems that we have as a global civilization, and they take it to like a weird level. They're like, it's the reptilians that are doing it to you because they want to eat your children. It's like, huh? Yeah. Wait a minute. How did you get from chemtrails to reptilian? I'm not kidding. It's the problem is that people can make sense of the information that's out there, because there's so much of it. And you got to go to reputable sources. We try to be here, especially, we try to be accurate. We try to be fact-based, evidence-based. And if people pretty much know that, which is why I'm glad you're here. So it's okay for you to talk about these things, because I think that people get it. They get that when they come here, when they listen to us talk about these things, they don't think of Alex Jones, even though they really are making the frogs gay. Or hermaphrodites, whatever. It was hermaphrodites. I think they were making them hermaphrodites.
Yeah, they castrated 30 out of the 40 frogs in the test that they did.
Yeah. He's a whack job. But when somebody puts out evidence, you got to take the evidence, whether it's from a whack job or not. I think that evidence is important, regardless of what source it's from. Data is data, but evidence and proof is a whole nother situation. And there are real concerns about, as we mentioned earlier, as Louis brought up earlier, about the estrogen from, for example, and I don't want to get too into it, but that stuff is being flushed down the toilet. It's just recycling, and you don't get rid of hormones. The treatment plants do not. I used to work at the treatment plant as well. They don't get rid of those hormones, guys. You don't even want to know how they process that water. If you know, then you know. We're getting a lot of that stuff back in our bodies, so it's important. Yeah, this is really important. I want to know what do we do about this, man? I mean, what is a solution? Because
we're going to have the solution in the second half. We're going to explain how you have to treat the water, the things you have to do with it, even down in the nitty gritty, as you got into briefly, Shayne, having a pre-filter and then a hydrogenator, things like that. So we'll get into all that. But we were talking earlier about PFAs, or these PFAS chemicals, these forever chemicals that your body can't leach. And I thought it was important that we talk about, and I have one on pharmaceuticals too, Marquise, to your point on birth control. So let's do the PFAS, and then we'll do pharmaceuticals, just to give people a better idea, all the crap that's really in our water.
One of the highest ways that we're receiving PFAS chemicals, which are forever chemicals that bioaccumulate, that are grandsons of Teflon, that are in everything, many things, that we're getting from our drinking water. So filter your water, because you're opening your mouth up to things that you can't see but are there. And that's only one. There's pharmaceutical drugs that the things you flush down your toilet are in the waterways, are coming back to you because they're not sophisticated. The water treatment facilities are really good at making sure you don't die acutely of dysentery, typhoid, and cholera. And then the rest, they don't have any idea, or don't have the funding, or are not doing it to filter out the rest of the chemical freaking romance that we have in this, in our water. So filter your damn water.
Yep, that's pretty much exactly what you said, Marquise. It's not a sophisticated treatment system. This is the same systems that they've been using since the 50s in some cities, right?
That's not including the pipes, man, that haven't been changed for 80 years.
Yes.
So
we have pipes. This is what the pipes look like, folks.
If you live in the US, stop what you're doing and make sure you're aware. This is what the inside of your tap water pipes look like that carry your drinking and washing water to your homes. It contains rust, lead, bacteria, chlorine, mineral buildup, and who else knows what's in there that, you guessed it, ends up right on your skin, which can cause and aggravate a number of skin conditions. Even though measures are being taken to sanitize water in the US, a lot of the sanitation occurs when water leaves the sanitation system and travels to our homes through these pipes. We would love to keep the conversation going. Comment below your thoughts and share this video with your friends to make.
Yeah, this is a big deal, especially in the US. I don't know what it's like in Canada, but in the US, they don't care. Or as you mentioned before, they don't have the funding. I think a lot of times it's prioritization. They don't prioritize the well-being or the health and well-being of the citizens. They prioritize, of course, the norms, the status quo, keeping themselves in power, perpetuating the same system that they've had forever, not fixing, people complain about fixing roads, but what about the thing that sustains your very life?
Yeah.
Water. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It never made sense to me, but also I've seen it everywhere. And again, I've been all over, even my entire county, in the surrounding counties. I went to all of them. I was in a place called Pillow, PA once, which was in the middle of nowhere. Look it up, everybody. If you're listening, look up Pillow, PA. It's in the middle of nowhere. There's like one fire department, no police. That's how small this place is. The water there is terrible. And it doesn't matter where you are. It's almost like it's just like by design or through negligence, whether it be through the water itself, the filtration system, the filtration process that's really limited, or the pipes themselves that have not been changed literally in like 70 years. So it's scary, to be honest. I don't touch it. I won't touch it.
What do you think about the Canadian system, Shayne? I would say it's the same. The infrastructure is the same age, made of the same materials. Like, what would be the major difference? I can't.
When was the last time you saw your city change and upgrade the water pipes?
Exactly.
I made a post on my Instagram about 2 or 3 weeks ago because I was given some videos from someone who works for a greater Vancouver city, and they were doing what's called pigging the pipes. They were pigging the pipes. It's pipe integration gauge, and it goes in and it'll clean the walls of the pipe out. And the water after they pigged it was like like dirt water. It was disgusting. Yeah. And that video a lot. I mean, I posted pictures of that, and some people like, oh, those are just minerals, and those that's sewer drains. And I'm like, no, it's not. And and if that's what you want to drink, then best of luck.
Yeah.
But you should probably pay attention to that. People take that the ostrich head in the sand approach, and they use what I called the I'm fine mentality. Like, oh, I'm not dying, and I'm not in the hospital dying, so I'm fine.
Oh,
I'm healthy. Really?
Don't look up. Don't look up.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're fine, or are you getting sick every couple months? And is your heart rate and blood pressure and all these things kind of going up? And how many prescriptions are you on to make you think that you're fine? It's crazy the mentality that people have.
Yeah, it can't just be minerals in the pipes. We see what's in the actual water. Guys pulling out arsenic and bacteria and viruses. That's the crud in the pipes because that's what's in the water. So you can't just say, well, yeah, I'll acknowledge that my water has heavy metals, poisons, pesticides, but it's not stuck to the pipe. Only the calcium bonded to the pipe.
Right.
No,
yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
It's everything. And in the US, you can actually go, regardless of where you live, and we want to give this as a public service announcement to anybody who's freaking out now, like, oh my God, what's in my water? I believe it'll say here, it's ECW or
EWG.org.
EWG.org. So this lady went on this site to see what her local water levels were, and she was shocked. So take a look.
So here's exactly why I filter my drinking, cooking, and showering water, and why you should too. This is EWG's tap water database. Before this screen, I put my zip code in. I'm choosing my utility. And this is what my results are. Yuck, 281 times. Ugh. Yuck, yuck, yuck. These are all carcinogens. Yuck. So go check yours. Go filter your water. It's so important.
I mean, 300 times the amount of arsenic. We're not talking 1 or 2 times, 300.
Yeah.
That's
With 200
good.
times the arsenic, 300 times with haliostatic acids, just as bad, just as much of a carcinogen, and you know, that's both of them that are at that high level. It's insane.
Yeah, amazing. In the second half, I want to go over some natural things humans have done that have screwed up. We already covered Flint, but there have been others: fracking, gasoline spills, and
Yeah, I was
native
gonna say
lands in
Ohio,
Canada.
East Palestine, Ohio, with the train derailment
Yep,
there.
exactly. Yep. We'll talk about all that. And then as well as sort of the healing powers of water. There's life and consciousness in water. We're going to talk about Masaru Emoto and his amazing work on the intention of water. But I don't want to forget this pharmaceuticals one, because I do think it's important. It's not just birth control. It's everything in the water. So we'll play this one and then we'll go to our halfway point break.
What about water? Should we ever drink tap water?
No tap water.
And why?
The pharmaceuticals remain. So when you have a wastewater treatment plant, they dump it into the river. There's studies showing how it feminizes elk in Montana. Even I remember reading that study, all the estrogen that people are taking for birth control, like that doesn't degrade. You get some of the other toxins out, the bacteria, the poop, and all that stuff, and then they put it back into the system, but the drugs are remaining.
The average man today, maybe you can speak to this, like testosterone is down, I don't know what percent from like 1960s. It's way down. Is that because of a lot of this, the tap water and some of these
toxins
things?
really affect your hormones, self-confidence, all this stuff. It's tied to testosterone, right? And women don't have as much, so they can fall in depression really quickly if toxins or something's affecting their hormonal system. That'll throw them into depression because you don't have enough testosterone.
Yeah, have you guys heard of this before? Like having those endocrine disruptors?
Yep.
Oh, absolutely. The amount of like young 20s, mid-20s that are going on to TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, like that should not be happening until you're well into your 40s. And I would make the argument that it shouldn't be happening at all. You should be able to, there's all sorts of natural ways of increasing and rebalancing your hormones. And that's the good thing is, the good news is, folks, for everybody that's listening, that's like, what the fuck are we going to do here? Is for every problem in this world, which we're seeing a lot of them, especially in this episode here, there is a solution. And that's, the good thing is all of these accounts, all of these people doing these videos, us, we're on the path and searching for and finding these solutions to these problems, so we can kind of reverse, some of the damage and right some wrongs.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the second half of the show, we are going to do just that. We're going to show you some options that you have at home, kind of educate you as to what to look for if you're looking for a machine. There's a huge variance. A lot of them do certain things, but not enough. But marketing comes into play, and you're thinking, hey, this $30 water bottle's the cure to everything I need. And it's probably not. So we will explain. Everybody go get some more coffee, get that comfy chair, and we'll see you back here in 5 minutes time. And we are back with the second half of Quantum Letter Podcast. Joining us today, our good friend Shayne McCarthy, H2 water expert. And we were talking about everything from what's in our water, heavy metals, pharmaceuticals, cancer-causing agents, endocrine disruptors. But what if you live in an area where the water is pretty good and industry does something to screw that up? And in fact, we've all heard of fracking, the negative. Marquise, you explained it very well, I think, on one of our episodes. Can you just fill in our viewers as to what exactly is fracking? You're muted.
Oops, sorry guys. Yeah, whenever we go to break, it doesn't actually mute the. But anyway, what fracking is, and I'm not a gas and oil expert, but I've watched a couple of documentaries, and it's been on the media for years now. They essentially pump these chemicals, this host of chemicals, into mountains where there's like a deposit of gas that's built up in the mountains, and those chemicals will push the gas into a place where they can draw the gas out from some kind of mechanical process. But when they do that, those chemicals, they just drain from the mountain into the water supply. They'll go into like the local water supply, and it poisons everything. It'll poison the water supply. Sometimes even when that lady said she was lighting her water on fire, people were posting videos on TikTok, on YouTube, all over the place, where they were lighting their water on fire from their sink because there was not only was there natural gas, but there was all those chemicals that were pushing through their water supply. It makes you sick. It can literally poison and kill people, which is less likely than just poisoning and making them sick. But obviously, there's a bunch of problems, like health problems, that it can give to the local community. It's crazy, but they do it because, of course, as they say, natural gas is cheaper for the U.S. than it is to get from outsourcing or getting the oil from somewhere else. So I don't know, man. I don't think it's worth it's not worth the consequences. I mean, a lot of times people don't think about the long-term consequences of their actions, especially if they're not affected by it. What's that movie that we watched? We were talking about the other day. Aaron Brockovich. Aaron Brockovich. Yeah. So I mean, unless, and this is unfortunate, human beings tend to, a lot of people, especially in the U.S. I've noticed that my people from over the pond in Canada, a little different a lot of times than the general public in the U.S. If they're not affected by it, they don't care. As a matter of fact, they're willing to harm other people as long as they can benefit from that harm, because who cares? I'm not affected by it. My family's not affected.
Not a me problem.
I don't care. Yeah. It's not a me. Literally, the backstory of every supervillain out there, it doesn't hurt me.
Yeah.
So,
what have you heard, Shayne, about fracking or just industry as a whole polluting our water supply?
I can't really add anything to what Marquis said. I mean, the only thing I would have brought up is the fact that there's the people lighting the water on fire and stuff like that, and it's the long-term effects that people don't look at. I mean, that's what we get in a want it now type of society. They're just like, oh, okay, well, it doesn't affect me now, so whatever.
It's the corporatocracy that we live under. Right? The
Right.
corporate dollar comes first, then maybe humans' feelings, maybe if it's in the budget, And this is a clip I got here. It was a farmer in some part of the U.S. They were doing fracking. They were denying that it was screwing up the water, telling people it was in their heads, it was made up. So he asked them, hey, would you drink the water from this town? They said, oh, absolutely. So he went to a council meeting where these corporate leaders were at, and he brought samples of the water from his farm and said, you said you would drink it. This is what it looks like. So take a look at this.
It's not mixed up real well. Well, there's some goodies down there. I better share with these class. So you told me this morning when I was in here talking to you that you would drink this water, right? So would you drink it? Yes or no?
Sir, we can either comment or...
Oh, you can't answer any questions?
No, sir.
So my answer would be no. I would not drink it.
It's like green mud, and these people straight up saying we can't comment. You know, as soon as you catch them, they're not responsible to anybody, not to the public, certainly. So they're just kind of doing this just for show, but they realize that you're not really in charge.
Yeah, there was and I've been, this is really cool, not cool, but there's a great example of this and I use a lot of movie references and storytelling references to talk about this in the movie Childhood's End. There is I don't want to give the story away, but there's a person who essentially is addressing the Saudis about their oil use, you know, how they're digging up oil all over the world or all over the place, and how their dependence on oil, given that they don't need to anymore, is a problem for the whole world. And his response was essentially, this is not what we want, so I don't care. This is what we're going to do, even though the whole world is a utopia. So essentially, they're still willing to poison whatever they can just to retain not even the power, but what they've once had before the utopia. And so, in response to this you know, reply from the Saudis, he brings in a bunch of what looks like water pails and pours oil into everyone's cup. And this is the crazy thing, and this is kind of how people are. This is how these people are. These corporate, you know, these corporate shills are. It's hard to say. The Saudi dips his finger in the oil and licks it to say, I will drink it just to spite this change in the world. That, I feel like that's kind of the sentiment of the world we live in today, where there is a group of people, and I'm sorry, guys, please forgive me for the conspiracy here, but the reality is corporations care less about even their own well-being, because one day their children and grandchildren are going to have to live in a world that they've destroyed, like they've ruined it. So it's really interesting how they kind of displayed that element of just humanity, you know, the worst of us, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's not just in the US. We have in Canada had some water issues. Unfortunately, in the last 5 years, there's been a few native reserves that didn't get the attention or proper care that they deserved, really. The government just kind of turned a blind eye. These people's water was crap. And it wasn't until it started making national headlines that somebody paid attention. So here's an example of a gasoline spill that basically almost destroyed an entire community of people.
Evidence of gasoline has been found in the drinking water in Iqaluit. For 2 weeks, residents said that they smelled fuel and oil in their drinking water, and city officials told them it was fine to drink. It wasn't until Tuesday that residents were actually told to stop drinking the water because evidence had been found of petroleum hydrocarbons in it. Petroleum hydrocarbons are fuel chemicals. Now the entire city is being told not to drink, not to cook with, not to boil, and not to bathe newborns in their tap water. And as residents scramble to get their hands on safe drinking water, grocery stores are selling out fast. And the price of these water bottles in the predominantly Inuit city have surged. All this has residents like Connie Nowluck feeling left behind.
I feel like I live in a third world country. It's really sad to say. I really legit feel like I live in another country at this moment, that we're not priority.
For more, go to globalnews.ca.
Crazy. And that's not the only one. There was a big Red River issue in, it's either Saskatchewan or Manitoba. Manitoba, yeah. I mean, poor people, again, they're literally, and some of these communities are remote. They're kind of like islands. People are literally going in boat to fill up as many jugs as they can fit in this little aluminum skiff just to bring fresh water to their communities, because the water that's there is garbage. And like that lady said in the video, they tell the officials, they're like, no, it's good. And then only when it gets really bad, they're like, no, it's not good. But if that didn't really explode, they would have just let those people keep going, despite them saying it smells like gasoline when I turn on the tap. Like, who's going to make that up, you know? It's sad. It's sad. And I guess we can't really talk about water in terms of filtration and things, which we're going to get into shortly here, without really discussing the life force of water. Shayne, you mentioned we're 70% water. It's vital in all the plants and all of our ecosystems. You know, even if toxic rains start destroying plants that we rely on for food and or medicine, that's going to have an indirect effect as well. It literally poisons everything, the food chain. And one thing I saw that really got me interested in water about 15 years ago was a Japanese scientist named Masaru Emoto. And he basically talked about the intention of water. Water has a consciousness. Water has an energy, and he could prove it. So I've got a clip here on explaining Masaru's work. and then also talking about dead and toxic water and what that looks like even at the microscopic level. So let's check it out.
This next series of photographs are the work of Japanese researcher Mr. Masaru Emoto from his book, The Message from Water. Mr. Emoto's work provides factual evidence that human vibrational energy, thoughts, words, ideas, and music affect the molecular structure of water. Please remember that water comprises over 70% of a mature human body and covers the same amount on our planet. Water is the very source of all life. This photo shows the beautifully formed geometric design of the Yushi Spring water. This next photo is from the Shimanto River, the last clean spring in Japan. Notice the extraordinary geometric forms. The fact that the molecular structure of water can be affected by our consciousness, our intent, and our sounds is extremely important. This photo is from the Mount Cook Glacier in New Zealand. Mr. Emoto has been visually documenting these molecular changes in water by means of his photographic techniques. He freezes droplets of water, then examines them under a dark field microscope that has photographic capabilities. His work clearly demonstrates the diversity of the molecular structure of water and the effects of the environment upon the structure of the water. This photo is from the fountain in Lourdes, France. This photo is from contaminated water from the Yodo River in Japan. In this photo we can compare the contaminated water with clean stream water. Look at the difference. Mr. Emoto decided to see what effects music would have upon the structure of water. He placed distilled water between two speakers for several hours while playing different music and then photographing the crystals that formed after the water was frozen. This photo is of water being exposed to Beethoven's Pastorale. This photo is the effect of Bach's Air for the G-string on the water. This photo is water exposed to Chopin's Farewell Song. This next photo is water being exposed and affected to music that was designed for healing. This photo is of water being exposed to the Kawachi folk dance. This photo shows the effect of heavy metal music upon the water. Here now we can compare the effects of healing versus heavy metal music and what happens to the water molecules. Mr. Emoto decided to see how thoughts and words affected the formation of untreated distilled water crystals by typing words onto paper and then taping this paper onto glass bottles overnight. This photo shows the effects of the words, "Thank you." This next photo shows the effects of the words love and appreciation. This photo shows the effects of the words, "You make me sick, I will kill you." And here we can compare the effects of thank you with the "You make me sick, I will kill you." Very, very different geometric forms being incurred through the intention. Now this photo is of a very polluted and toxic water from the Fujiwara Dam. Here now is the same water from the Fujiwara Dam after a Buddhist monk had offered a prayer over it. Prayer, that sound coupled with intention, seems to have an extraordinary ability of restoring water to its natural, harmonious, geometric symmetry. And in this photo, we can compare the toxic water and then the effects of praying over the water.
Have you guys seen any of that before?
Oh yeah,
I have. Yeah, this is awesome. That was great. By the way, it changed my whole perspective about what's possible, like physics and what's really going on the fundamental level of reality. It changed everything. Your body's made up of water, so you think about the things you say to yourself and how you feel, and not just your thoughts and words, but also your feelings and emotions are extremely important to be more conscious and direct them versus letting things happen and letting your feelings take over. It's really important to to do that.
Look how water behaves when you tell it you love it or thank you, and look how it behaves when you say I hate you.
Yeah,
It's, if that's what you're telling yourself every day, if you live in a self-loathing, negative style of life, if you don't have high self-esteem, or if you're just very depressed, effectively that is also poisoning you, because if you believe, of course, I mean, there's some people that might say that's all BS, but I personally believe it. I do believe there is intention involved with water. We covered crazy inventions that didn't see the light of day a few episodes ago, and we had Victor Schauberger, the water wizard, and he believes that circulating water was how water in nature purified itself. You never see water stagnant. It forms whirlpools, it goes around rocks, and in that vortex is sort of what he believed to be the cleansing power of the earth on the water itself, right? If you put water in a barrel, leave it for a week, it goes stagnant, right? Because it's full of non-life healing things. And let's get into ionized or living water. Now, Shayne, you are the expert here. I'm going to play a quick video on what exactly is ionized or living water, and then you're going to go ahead and explain it to us, okay?
Cool.
The second thing, and the most important thing now, is, in my opinion, because of the study that I've done and the cancer patients that I've talked to, is ionized water. Ionized water, most people don't know about it, and I didn't know about it. When I went out to research and find out what cancer patients can drink, almost everything you buy today is acid. You can't go to a store and buy anything hardly that's not acid as far as drinks are concerned. You can drink Gatorade and Coca-Cola. Pop is 2.5 pH. That's slightly above stomach acid. Why would you drink that? And so I went about studying water. And unfortunately, most of the water, bottled water, whatever, is acidic water. Your bottled water was bottled from a year to 3 years ago by the time you get it. It's been sitting in a plastic bottle. How good is that for you?
So what are your thoughts, Shayne? Ionized water. I have another one on hydrogen water, but maybe we can explain the process and then the benefits we'll get into later on.
Yeah, I definitely want to do. I do want to get it because that video did mention molecular hydrogen, and as someone that studied molecular hydrogen for a decade now, it's really important to understand that the molecular hydrogen that helps your body is dissolved into your water. So those bubbles that you're seeing that are in the water, that actually has no effect on your health. That's undissolved molecular hydrogen, but we'll get into that after. So the process of ionization is basically the water goes into the machine, should get filtered properly once, and hopefully the water is pure before going over like an electrolysis chamber, similar to but not the same as the electrolysis thing that we saw earlier. But there's a cathode and a anode, and the water that goes over the cathode will turn into what should be hydrogen-rich water, but alkaline water. And the water goes over the anode, gets turned into acidic water. So it's essentially splitting the water into alkaline and acidic waters. And many people have been drinking this for a long time and getting health benefits from it. Again, when done properly, there is molecular hydrogen in the water. But a lot of people are drinking, the alkaline water fad has become a big thing, primarily because many people are living a very acidic lifestyle, right? And I mean, that's, the food that we eat, like you guys have talked about, the drinks that we drink, the air that we breathe, the overall stress in life, it has led for us to be in a more acidic environment. And now it's misquoted often, but Dr. Otto Warburg in 1931 says that cancer thrives in an acidic environment. That quote is, and his Nobel Peace Prize is misquoted, but there is some truth to it. But the problem is that with drinking alkaline water, you're not getting to the root cause of why people are acidic. If you cut open an apple and let it sit there for half an hour, what happens?
It oxidizes.
Yeah. Yep.
Perfect. You know, it turns brown, right? And so drinking alkaline water is like cutting the sliver of the brown apple off so you get fresh apple again. But if you don't change the environment in which the apple is in, and you let it sit there open in the open air for another half hour again, it's just going to turn brown again for the exact reason that you already said, Louis, is it's oxidizing. It's similar to our bodies. We are acidic because of the over amount of oxidative stress, inflammation, and that comes because of damaged guts, because of the foods that we're eating, the drinks that we're drinking, and all that. Our bodies aren't creating the amount of hydrogen that they should be creating. You know, when you eat food, and I'm talking real food, not food like products that many people are eating. When you eat food and your intestinal tract breaks it down, different gases are formed, some more hilarious than others, but one of those gases should be hydrogen, and your body should create up to 10 liters of hydrogen a day. That acts as the muffler to the exhaust of your energy being used in your body. So your body creates a mitochondria, it creates ATP, adenosine triphosphate. That's the life force. That's the energy in your cells. The byproduct to that, the waste that comes from that, is called the hydroxyl radical. It's the most cell damaging, cytotoxic free radical in your body. And because our bodies aren't creating enough hydrogen to keep up with that now, due to damaged guts, the body then has to use more ATP or energy to try to keep up with that. But because it's using more ATP, it's creating more hydroxyl radical. And it's a toxic cycle that we find ourselves in. And that's what creates the acidic environment that we live in, which then leads to the many different diseases and ailments and illnesses that we deal with so commonly now.
Yeah. And one thing I found fascinating about studying hydrogen water is that hydrogen itself is a selective antioxidant.
Yes.
So it will give you what you need where you need it in almost a perfect way that nothing synthetic on the market will do. And I found a little clip on it on hydrogen being a selective antioxidant. So let's take a look.
Hydrogen is a selective antioxidant because it's a modulator. It's not actually donating an electron. You don't have any of that happening. It is modulating many pathways, so it has an antioxidant effect in the body, and that's why they call it a selective antioxidant, because it's only reaching and reacting with cytotoxic or cell damaging oxygen radicals. This is huge. Like, you're talking hydroxyl radicals, superoxide. These are the nasty ones. Like hydroxyl radicals that are a lot of times in the mitochondrial respiratory chain disrupting energy production, or ATP production. It's the worst damaging radical, and all it is a hydrogen oxygen. HO is what a hydroxyl radical is.
It's a hoe.
It's a hoe. And so, and it's neutral, which of course it has to be neutral because it never gets in the cell unless it's neutral. But imagine if you add one more hydrogen to it. It's water. I mean, its chemistry is so cool in that way, right?
That's cool.
So when you throw hydrogen into the body, it does amazing things. But in the mitochondrial respiratory chain, you can stop the production of hydroxyl radicals, and therefore you'll have an appropriate ATP, and therefore you won't have to sugar and carb load and create more oxygen radicals. It's just a better, cleaner system.
So a hydroxyl is HO, and by adding more hydrogen to your body, what do you get? H2O. It produces basically water. It neutralizes. This is like the Tums for your upset stomach, neutralizing the acid. It's effectively what hydrogen water is doing. It's bonding to those poisons to make them now something that doesn't affect you at all.
And you know, the evolution of now learning more about hydrogen is really becoming very cool, because by doing that, first of all, what he said about it stopping the hydroxyl radical, that's not true. You actually you can never stop the it's an ongoing thing that can that's processed in your body. It's important to balance that and regulate that, which is what the so it's just minorly off, but the fact that it does neutralize the most cell damaging free radical and convert it into water and it is amazing. You know, you see a lot of people talk about it being a very powerful antioxidant. That also is not true. It's the fact that it's selective means that it's not powerful. A powerful antioxidant would go for all the free radicals in your body, and there are many different free radicals in your body. I mean, it's a lot like comparing, you know, thinking about bacteria. You know, we think bacteria is bad, but we know that in our gut there's healthy bacteria, that there's bacteria that's good for you. Just like free radicals, there are some free radicals in your body that are good for you, that, you know, contribute to your body's production and overall again balance. But the cool thing is once you allow your mitochondria and your energy to start getting back into its natural homeostasis, its balanced state, the body starts being able to do what it's supposed to do. So this then has now been proven to upregulate glutathione, which is your body's master antioxidant. It increases NAD and NAC levels, which a lot of people supplement with NAC just for immune boosting. It opens up your NRF2 pathway. So for those that have the MTHFR, the motherfucker gene mutation, that is the, you know, 44% of humans have this gene mutation, and it's a big part of why people have autoimmune diseases. This allows your body to start being able to treat itself and get back to again the homeostasis. We can talk about the body's pH, we can talk about the mineral or nutrient or lack thereof, or the methylation of the nutrients, but it all comes down to an imbalance at a cellular level. And going way back to the very beginning of when you showed us the cell under the microscope, you know, and the layer around the cell, that's what hydrogen has the ability to do that nothing else, no other molecules has the ability to do, is permeate through that, because hydrogen is the smallest molecule in the universe.
Yeah. Yeah, and we saw that video with the glass water bottle, and the water looked fizzy. That's because it's enriched with hydrogen. And I got a 10-second clip here on hydrogen-enriched water. If you hold a lighter to it, you'll hear it popping and sizzling because hydrogen is flammable. And that's one way of telling if, in fact, there is hydrogen in your water. So take a look at this. It's pretty cool. It has that sizzle.
Yeah, I got some things to say about that one.
Sure.
Again,
is that bullshit? Is that made up or what?
It's not. It isn't. And it isn't. I don't want to bash Kangen. I'm very grateful for Kangen. It's actually how I got my start in this industry over a decade ago. I had a Kangen machine, and
so that was the Kangen machine she was using.
Oh yeah, that was a Kangen K8. I know it when I see it, and I also know that that's a common method of them testing the hydrogen in the water. Again, those bubbles that you see is not that's undissolved molecular hydrogen. That's undissolved hydrogen. The hydrogen that benefits your body is dissolved into the water, so it's invisible to the naked eye. And this is very important to understand. You know, having those bubbles in the water, having that crackling sound is a sign that there could be molecular hydrogen in your water. It's similar to what they'll use, what Kangen and other ionizer companies will use a lot and talk about is ORP and the negative value to the ORP. ORP standing for oxidation reduction potential. And if it's a positive number, it's got the potential and probably is oxidizing to your body. If it's got a negative number, it's got the potential to reduce oxygen in your body. But without hydrogen present in the water, it is not living up to its potential. And that's so important for people to understand, is that, you know, that hydrogen needs to be dissolved into your water, and it needs to be there if you want to achieve what you're trying to achieve with alkaline water, with what you're trying to achieve with hydrogen water, which is, again, reestablishing and maintaining a healthy, balanced lifestyle. You know, that's, you mentioned the $30 water bottles, or, you know, the hydrogen water bottles that are coming out all over the market now that you got your Gary Brecka and Joe Rogan and Andrew Huberman and so on and so forth talking about hydrogen, which is, believe me, as someone that has been telling people for a decade now that hydrogen water is like the best, it's amazing to see. But with that comes, you know, companies that, you know, want to get into the marketplace and take advantage of the tidal wave of information that is coming out about hydrogen. And there's a lot to those. There's a lot to those bottles. Those portable hydrogen water bottles are great. Some are much better than others. It comes down to how much hydrogen are they creating. Is it, you know, the average study will have a therapeutic amount being between 0.6 and 1.5 parts per million, or 600 and 1500 parts per billion. It's the same number. It's parts per million has a decimal point and a different part. You know, that's another marketing technique that people would say, oh, it's got 1500 parts per billion. So you makes people that don't really understand the science of it think, oh, that's a lot. But no, it's the same as 1.5 or 5 parts per million, exact same number. But you know, if that water isn't creating at least that 0.6, you're going to need to, you know, you're going to be needing to drink a lot of that water to get what ends up being a therapeutic amount of hydrogen each day. And then a lot of these water bottles are very small. Some of these water bottles are using less than quality materials, not only for the plastic and stuff, which then ends up with leaking. The bottle's leaking. It then, as well, with the ionization, it's what's called proton exchange membrane, that can actually leach metals into your water. That's a big one. And then how long is it going to create hydrogen for? So maybe it creates a therapeutic amount of hydrogen for like a few weeks, but then it's done. That's not worth the investment. You know, you'd be better off getting tablets at that point, which is one of the ways of getting hydrogen into your water. And I think of getting hydrogen in your water, it's the least effective way, because it's basically elemental magnesium, and you put it into your water. It effervesces kind of like an Alka-Seltzer, and then the chemical reaction creates the level of hydrogen in your water. Now, the problem is if it doesn't effervesce and dissolve all the way, you're getting that magnesium in there. You're getting that magnesium taste. It's a very earthy taste in the water. Hydrogen water should taste amazing to you, light and smooth and delicious. Again, smallest molecule. It should be, you know, it absorbs very quickly, and it should taste as such. When you have that earthy taste, it really takes it away from that. And then also, magnesium getting into your intestinal tract, you're gonna clear some rooms out real quick.
Yeah, it's gonna give you the runs.
It's bad.
Yeah,
been there.
And I've also heard those small bottles, because of the way they inefficiently produce hydrogen, there's also a byproduct, which is peroxide produced by those bottles. So unless there's a proper off-gassing or a way of, you know, dealing with that, there could actually be hydrogen produced with that same process.
Yeah,
you won't find
the hydrogen peroxide, which is actually a free radical. That's one of those free radicals that I talked about that is good for your body in certain amounts.
Yeah,
wouldn't necessarily be using a bottle that's supposed to be creating molecular hydrogen for that purpose. But yeah, no, absolutely, that's another thing. And the other thing too with hydrogen, the bottles and the tablets, is you need to make sure that you have properly filtered water in those bottles and with those tablets.
Yeah,
that
it's just hydrogenating. It's not actually filtering nothing. You're putting dirty water and giving it bubbles.
And again, the last thing you want to be doing is taking that water that guy broke up with the electrolysis and making that more bioavailable for your body. Right. That's like literally the last thing you want to be doing.
You'd be better to just drink tap water without even touching it at that point.
Yep.
Rather than
you honestly, you're eliminating any of the benefits that you're getting from hydrogen, and you're actually making things so much worse for yourself.
Yeah. Here's a guy telling a story about he was given a machine from Japan, not a Kangen machine, but essentially talking about these small machines that you see everywhere. and the difference between a proper investment and getting a proper machine. And then we'll get into your machines right after that.
A lot of people are saying that hydrogen water is a scam. Leave your comments below what you think after watching this.
I think there's a lot of science to hydrogen water. I mean, I put a lot of the clinical studies on my. I personally think it's the healthiest water you can put in the human body. If you can afford it, hydrogen water filtration system. Use a 4-stage RO filter to get all the microplastics and the fluoride and the chlorine and all out of your water, and then hydrogenator to add hydrogen back to the water. If you're traveling, you can use hydrogen tablets. I actually have a hydrogen water bottle. I have it with me. And I pour all of my water into this hydrogenator, and I click a button, and it hydrogenates the water. I think it's about $250. Probably.
But water is H2O. Isn't there hydrogen in any water you'll drink?
Yeah, but when you actually add hydrogen ions to the water, you feed the hydrophiles in your gut. You have excess hydrogen ions to neutralize free radicals. It's more hydrating. It's actually been proven to be better for recovery and athletic performance. Hydrogen water, in my opinion, is by far probably the most studied form of water in the world. I mean, there are more than 1,000 published clinical studies on hydrogen water. Just look up hydrogen water and Parkinson's, hydrogen water and metabolic syndrome, hydrogen water and gut health, and you'll see, you'll find the studies.
So that was Gary Brecka, as you mentioned, and of course he is trying to sell his machines that he makes. But let's get a little bit into your machines. I find these things fascinating. So tell us a bit about your business, what you do, and then we'll get into your product.
Yeah, I know his machines quite well, actually. And he said hydrogen ions. It's the molecule of hydrogen. There's a few different hydrogens, and yeah, the molecule gets dissolved into the H2O. But anyways, that's beside the point. So the company that I represent, Alcaviva or Ultra Water Solutions, they've been in the U.S. since before Anagic. They've been in the U.S. since 2002. I've chose them for a few different reasons. A few of the main reasons being that I learned, when I started going down the road, when I had a Kangen machine, I was doing the dog and pony show and showing everybody the pretty colors of the pH scale and stuff like that with the water machine and what it can do. I realized that, okay, doctors and scientists need to sign off on this if this is going to take off in a big way. And so that's when I started doing my research on ionized water, electrolyzed reduced water, alkalized water, however you want to call it, from an outside perspective, not what my upline was and downline and sideline was telling me what to say, not what the company was telling me to say, but the actual science, so I can at least from a basis point talk to them, talk to the doctors and scientists about that. And that's when I found the study from 2007 that molecular hydrogen is the selective antioxidant. That kind of really kicked things off, even though the first study is actually from 1783. This has actually been looked into for a long time, but it's only really hit the markets, started to hit in the markets more over in Japan and Korea as of 2007. And I learned all this stuff from a gentleman named Tyler LeBaron. He's the founder of the Molecular Hydrogen Institute, and the MHI or Molecular Hydrogen Institute is a not-for-profit 501c organization that just teaches and educates people on the benefits of molecular hydrogen with no affiliates or no connections to any companies whatsoever. And he was telling me that there's basically four most important things that you need to be looking at when investing in an ionizer for you and your family's health: filtration, maintenance, warranty, and whether or not the company has a focus on alkalinity or hydrogen. And filtration is again, as mentioned, very, very important, because if you don't, what my tagline is, if you don't filter your water, you become the filter for your water. That becomes infinitely more true again when you ionize the water. Hydrogen or not, it's going to become more bioavailable. It will absorb into your body quicker, and so will everything else that's in the water. So that's one of the things Alcaviva has is this 16-stage dual filtration that's standard in every machine, that is proven on their website to remove 249 contaminants, including fluoride. And there's there's all sorts of other pre-filters. Like we have a reverse osmosis system with a remineralization cartridge if you are in like Mexico or Alcaviva or something like that, or sorry, in Africa or something like that. And so the filtration is first and foremost, because then the magic of it is when the water goes over the electrolysis process and gets split into the hydrogen-rich alkaline and acidic waters. Now, something that a lot of people don't really realize with other ionizers, Kangen in particular, is the cathode attracts or scales calcium. And as soon as any calcium is scaled to that cathode, any of the therapeutic benefits, any of the hydrogen that water is creating is done. And you're not getting that back. And so with other ionizers, you need to clean it every 3 to 4 weeks, which, it's easy enough to do. But, do many people do it? No. And then you also have to get it deep cleaned once a year at your head office. And if you're not in the same area, that means you're shipping your machine to the head office. You're paying for them to keep it there for a week to get it deep cleaned. You're without your water for 2 to 3 weeks. And that is, again, something that a lot of people don't end up doing. And then you really diminish the value of the investment that you made for your family. And so the Alcaviva machines has what's called a dark 2 reverse polarity cleaning systems, anti-scaling. So like I said, the cathode attracts calcium, the anode repels it. When you every time you turn our machines on and off, the cathode and the anode switch. So while the cathode attracts it and the anode repels it, by switching them back and forth every single time, you're eliminating that possibility for calcium to scale onto the electrolysis plates, and you're prolonging a lifetime of hydrogen production in your machine. One of the things,
they're good looking machines too. You've got some that go on the sink.
Yeah,
sort of standalone units under counter.
Yeah, and the cool thing about our machines too is even if it's a countertop machine, you can hook it up directly to your cold water line. The other machines they have to be connected to the faucet, and a lot of the faucets nowadays aren't like, you got those spray down faucets, some of the Moen faucets and stuff like that. They don't accept the connection for that diverter, and so you end up having to put your machine in the bathroom or something like that. Our machines will hook directly up to your cold water line. That plumbing is universal, it's standard, and you just tee into the cold water, and it makes it a lot more aesthetically pleasing and also easy to use. You just turn the knob and the water comes out, and turn it back and it stops. And then also, if you don't like the countertop machine, you have the ability to put it underneath the counter and attach it to its own digital faucet, and you just press the buttons to scroll through the different levels of alkaline water, the different levels of acidic water, and then press the power button and it stops.
And these are the levels here that some levels of those machines can do. So take us through it here, level 1 all the way through level. You can go right down to pH 3 or 4.
So let's start on alkaline. Because that's the first one you had up. So level 1 is what I recommend drinking for the first week or two when you first get your machine to get your body used to the hydrogen. It's also a very good water for cats and dogs. And also, as it mentions there, that it's watering slightly alkaline plants in the house and the garden. Some plants like slightly acidic. And so, that's the beauty of having one of these machines. It's the press of a button and you get these different levels of water to use in whatever way you want. Level 2 is a good drinking water after you've gotten yourself used to it. And you can drink that, regularly, or you can up yourself to level 3. I drink level 3 on a regular basis. It's good for making ice cubes. Anything level 3, 4, or 5 is good for making the ice cubes, because when frozen, the hydrogen will get suspended in your water, and then those benefits, let's say you're having like scotch on the rocks, scotch on the rocks with those ice cubes are it's a whole different level. Not that I'm sitting here promoting the drinking and stuff like that, but there's different benefits to different strokes for different folks, right? Level 4 is very good for coffee and tea, or also used for boiling water for rice. Level 5 is definitely one of the most used outside of the drinking water. Quite honestly, I would say the drinking water alone, the hydrogen alone, and the benefits that you get from it is worth the investment. But really, my job is to make sure that when you have one of these machines in your home, you're using it to the best of your ability. And level 5 alkaline is one of the ones that you really get lots of benefits from. Because it's going over the pH of 11, and it does this naturally, because of the way the technology is set up, you can remove the oil-based pesticides from your produce. And so the herbicides and pesticides are all oil-based because it prevents from the farmers spraying it on and then rain coming and washing it off. And so that's why they're oil-based, but because it's over 11, that emulsifies oils. Now, the Kangen machine, you need an electrolysis solution in order to create the strong alkaline water, as they say it. And that again becomes an extra cost and inconvenience, but most importantly, it degrades the platinum on the plates of the electrolysis chamber, and this one diminishes and devalues your machine, but two, it also allows for platinum nanoparticles to get inside your water. The whole point is to remove heavy metals, not add more in. And so that's one of the real key things to the level 5 alkaline water, but also soaking and cleaning your rice and grains. You can remove makeup, like you said, with that brining protein, like the turkey that I made for my family over Christmas is absolutely phenomenal. I brined it for an hour with the level 5 alkaline. Normally you're brining it for 24 to 36 hours at least to get that juicy the juicy texture of the meat. I mean, this because of the not only the alkalinity but the increased amount of hydrogen that you're getting in there, it really permeates through and makes it absolutely delicious. Mixing your supplements, I just made a post about this on my Instagram page today. It will cut the acidity from your pre-workouts and BCAAs. It will also allow very good bioavailability, so it's going to deliver those supplements into your body that much more efficiently, getting you that much more value out of the supplements that you're taking. I also recommend drinking 1 liter first thing in the morning with some lemon juice or lime juice in it just to bring that pH back down, but you're getting that optimized level of hydrogen to start your day, and you're jump starting your immune system and overall energy. Now, the acidic water, which is really the unsung hero of these machines, is actually, there's a ton of different uses that come with it. Level 1, again, like I said, watering the slightly acidic plants. You can use it as a face, like for a toner. You can replace your skin toner after you're removing your makeup. You watering the water in the vase for your cut flowers will help them last longer. I buy flowers for my wife quite often. They last weeks instead of just a few days to a week, and so that brings a lot more value in that. You can rinse your dog off after cleaning your dog. It'll restore the balance and the pH of their skin and their hair. And then the level 2 is again, there's a whole bunch of different uses. Like hydrogen, it does many things, but it does not give you hand-eye coordination. So I still lack in that one in a very big way. And I cut myself while I'm cooking in the kitchen quite often. And so, having that there to be able to run my finger under the level 2 acidic water will help stop the bleeding quicker. And it also help disinfect in a very easy and natural way. People with kids, what do your kids do, especially during the summer? They're playing, and then they fall and scrape their knee or stuff like that. You could use rubbing alcohol or hydrogen peroxide and deal with them screaming at you with the stinging and burning that comes with that. After, you can just use some level 2 acidic water, which is nice and easy, but and safe to use to clean those cuts out. Using it to clean the stainless steel or mirrors or glass around your kitchen, your house, your bathrooms, your kitchen. Using it to clean while you still have food on your counter. You don't need to worry about any chemicals going into your food. Using it as a mouthwash. I mean, these two things are guides that I created myself, but it's not all that, you know, there's more than just this for the uses. And that's, you know, again, that's really the value that I bring, and what my job is to do is to not just sell you a machine. In fact, you know, once I sell you the machine, that's when my job really begins. And I want to really make sure that you're getting as much value out of it as you possibly can.
Even hand sanitizer.
Yeah, this is I gotta say, I'm getting excited over here because I remember those days, right? I used to go to people's homes to show them, because a lot of times people would be like, well, you know, I don't think I need it. I think I'm okay. Just like we mentioned before, if they don't see the benefit, a lot of times they don't get it. I want to attest to this because I need to get one. Bottom line, I live in a house that allows us. We rent the home, but they do allow us to upgrade it in different ways. We have been for years now. And that's one thing that was essential for what we did. We had to have people had to own the home in order for us to do that. But some places, the landlord, it would increase the value of your property. So the landlord would allow people to put these products in their home because of that increase in value. There's a lot of reasons, and I'm not trying to sell for you. This is seriously a really big deal. I remember going into someone's home and we would hook up this portable version of the system, and then we would go to the bathroom and say, first, hey, listen, what's the dirtiest spot in your home that you can't get up? You just can't fix it. And it's I put all these chemicals on.
Toilet seat, bathroom.
Because guess what? If you have city water, you think you shouldn't have those spots on the walls, those yellow and orange streaks on the walls.
Or the pink film, which is bacterial.
Pink film. You shouldn't have any of that, right? But it's the copper stuff, right? On the shower head, you see the built up hard water that's on there, the built up minerals. Say, oh, you know, I just figured it was, you know, part of the shower. They never thought of it. You go in the home and they pick out the dirtiest thing. Usually the bathroom, the bathtub. The bathtub would have these brownish, you know, these deposits on it, and they've been putting chemicals on it for years and nothing. You pour that water on there, and nothing but a soft bristle pad, a soft one, not a hard one that scrapes up everything and causes these deep imprints, just a soft pad, and you clean it off like it's nothing. Go to the toilet, the same thing. Not inside of the toilet, I'm not going in there. But on the back of the toilet, because the water would fill up, that water is coming in, it's supposed to be filtered water or clean water. It's got that buildup inside of the toilet seat. Sometimes it's black. It's disgusting. They've been trying to get that stuff out of there with the chemicals that they pour in their toilet. They've been putting those little drops in there. They put a device in there that every time they flush, it pours chemicals in there, and it doesn't work. You put some clean water, real clean water with these systems, it will clean it off like it's nothing. And then we would calculate how much they use in products for cleaning these things on top of the chemicals. It would pay for itself and more. The return on investment is ridiculous. This isn't a joke. This is serious. This is real stuff. Like the importance of this product. I wish it was something that everybody had, because, and again, we don't work together. It's just, I'm going to get one. We're going to have to talk after the show because I need one for my home.
And full disclosure, we're not making a penny off of these machines.
No,
we're not
man.
paid for this endorsement. We believe in the technology. We're enthusiasts.
This is the first time I've met Marquise. So
yeah, exactly. This is the first
I've never even talked to you before, Shayne. So it's just I used to work on these systems and then help people really change their entire home. It's amazing, and I could talk about it because as these are the things that really get me all, you know, they spark that, you know, that the dopamine
I can feel
in the
it.
brain.
I feel that energy.
It's exciting.
So we're going to put a link in our description. Anybody who wants to learn more about these machines, or if they want to get in touch with Shayne, they certainly can. Before we go, Shayne, I'll give you the last word today since you're our guest. What do you want people to know about water, health in general, the cost versus dying 20 years early, that kind of thing? What do you want to leave with folks?
I mean, there's a few different things that I can say to that. You know, if you don't filter your water, you become the filter for your water. And you know, if you don't pay the price for a healthy lifestyle, you pay the price for an unhealthy lifestyle. You know, at one point or another, you're going to have to pay money for your health. And believe me, it's a lot easier to do when you pay for it before you're in a proactive way than in a reactive way. And when you have one of my machines in your home, We have whole home filtration systems as well, but the H2 machine alone, when you have one of those, if you look at it from a supplement standpoint, if we go out and buy a thing of protein that's a 30-day serving for you, it's exactly that. It's for you. Whereas when you have this machine, you have an unlimited source of something that everybody should be supplementing with right now, hydrogen. And it just so happens to be in something that everybody will always, always, always need: properly filtered water. Aside from the air that you breathe, the water that you are ingesting is right next to, taking your life from being in just surviving to thriving.
Yeah, and we showed you what's in the water. If you don't believe us or you want to check it out,
for yourself.
Go to that. What was that again? EWG? Is that the website?
So yeah, I just want to say I apologize. I was on that site for a good 15-20 minutes. I apologize. I had to find out, and I am disturbed.
What's the level of arsenic in your water, Marquise?
So let's take. Let me just. I'm gonna read off some of the.
We got 7 minutes here, and we got a 3-minute closing. So you got about 4 minutes.
So chloroform, 45 times the guidelines that they say.
Here, can you share your screen right now? I'll pull it in the show.
Hold on. Let me just make sure it doesn't have my location. I put my location in, and then it gave me this.
Because you got to put your zip code in.
Yeah.
So just scroll to the results then.
Yeah, let me just. I'm gonna scroll through. So I'm gonna show you guys here. This is I'm gonna have to share and then unshare and then share again because there's a couple parts of this you got to see. Here it is, right here.
Okay.
So it exceeds. So the legal does not necessarily equal safe. Basically, 16 contaminants are in the water. This is in the local, the municipal.
Look, they even say it right there. Legal does not necessarily equal safe.
Yeah.
And they haven't been
time. Let's see what you got.
Haven't been updated in almost 20 years.
There's more. Yeah, there's more. Hold on 1 second. Let me pull up the rest because it does kind of give. This is insane, man.
Oh, it's crazy.
Here we go. I'm ready. I got you. So right here. So these are the chemicals. I'm sorry. I had to find out because I was like, oh man, I'd never heard of this website before. This is
haloacetic acid 254 times.
Yeah, the HAA5 and HAA9, and then the trihalomethanes. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
those
chromium, heavy metals.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I don't know if you noticed, I kind of zoned out. I was listening. I heard everything. I was attentive, but I was just like, I gotta check this out. And I looked and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're gonna die. How are we not dead right now? Oh my gosh.
Like Shayne said, if you don't filter your water, you become that filter.
Yep.
And whether it's lacking nutrients, it's gonna deplete you of those. But if you can get enriched water, properly enriched, do your research. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of bad information too. So it's important to summarize it all. That's why we wanted to do this show. A lot of people know our water's not good, but I don't think most people understand to the extent. Yeah. And we might do a part 2 on this one day because it is such a big topic.
You mean a part H2? Sorry, I had to throw the pun in there.
You got it. This guy.
So with that, we want to say thanks very much to our guest, Shayne McCarthy. And on behalf of myself, Louis Borges, and my co-host, Marquise Williams, thank you again for tuning in. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed our show and subscribe to our channels if you haven't already. And with that, everybody, take care of each other. We'll see you for next week's episode, and bye for now.